Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. I am Tina Jha. In his first trip to a foreign country since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Dhaka, the capital of neighbouring Bangladesh, on Friday morning. So on this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyse with experts the significance of the Prime Minister's visit to Bangladesh, a look back at the 50-year-long India-Bangladesh ties, and the areas where we still need to focus on to further cement this relationship with our neighbouring country. Joining me on the program are two special guests. Let me first introduce them to you. I'm joined on the show today by Mr. Anil Trigunyat, his former ambassador, and Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, foreign affairs expert. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Coming to you, Dr. Sreeram Chaulia, on trying to understand what Mr. Trigunyat says, our relationship has evolved. At present, India and Bangladesh share much deeper, and our relationship has also matured over the years. And that's why I think the relationship between both countries is also often described as a textbook example of how a neighborly relationship should be. Apart from the shared bonds of history, language and culture that we share, what are the other factors that have helped both India and Bangladesh consolidate the foundation of our relationship in the last 50 years?
Well, yes, Tina, it is indeed a model neighborly relationship. The one that comes to mind, which is similar, is Mexico and the United States. See, they have buried historical differences and no longer claim territory of each other. And there is a heavy American investment in Mexico, and Mexican growth is now intertwined with that of the US. And Mexico has become a middle-income country by making sure that it has a positive non-zero-sum game relationship with the US. Same thing, I would say, Bangladesh has done very successfully, especially under Sheikh Hasina, as Ambassador was mentioning. So apart from culture, language, and history, which of course tie us, what is really working for us is that, Prime Minister Modi worked hard to overcome some of the outstanding issues that were still left over, like the land boundary agreement, the maritime agreement on Bay of Bengal, maritime waters. These things actually created a lot of confidence after 2014 in Bangladesh. There used to be a very strong anti-India faction in Bangladeshi politics before a decade ago. Now, that's been completely marginalized, except some far leftists and some hardline jihadist groups and radical Islamists. Nobody, not even the BNP, which is the main opposition party in Bangladesh, which historically used to be anti-India, even they are looking to get India support to try and balance out Sheikh Hasina. So if you look at it that way, we have come along, quite far. And the reasons are due to this sovereignty. There's never an issue of sovereignty between us. I mean, sometimes there are incidents on the border, on the India's eastern and northeastern border with Bangladesh. Sometimes, trespassers are shot and such things happen. But there is complete agreement between the two sides as to the reason for it. In fact, Dr. Jaishankar, our foreign minister, was asked recently about these incidents at the border. And he said, it's largely due to criminal and illicit activities that are happening there. And if we don't want crime, then, we need law enforcement on both sides. So in other words, the same thing happens in Mexico-US border, It's a very positive and friendly relationship, no matter who is in power or who is not, because they have a sense that they are not competing against each other. So I think that matters, the confidence and the trust. The other thing is, Ambassador was talking about the economic relationship. What we have done, we have now built integrated checkposts at many of the border points to facilitate easy movement of goods and of legal movement of people across the border. We used to have this illegal immigration problem from Bangladesh for a long time, but now you see it's a fact that we are issuing legal visas in Dhaka, in Chittagong, where our embassies and high commissions are there, and consulates are there, directly for Bangladeshis for legitimate reasons. And today, Prime Minister was also offering to bring more Bangladeshi students to India. He was offering to 50th years of diplomatic relations. He was saying we'll bring 50 Bangladeshi entrepreneurs to work with Indian entrepreneurs to build new startups and businesses for young people. So I think as far as legitimate movement goes, we are all for it. And earlier, the Bangladeshis used to be cross about one thing. They used to say, "You Indians, you make it so hard for us to enter your country because you think all of us are illegal migrants." They used to often crib about it in private. Now that thing has gone. We have become much more liberal. So I think the generosity of India, the strategic generosity of India under Modi administration has really won the hearts and minds. People were saying Citizenship Act will ruffle feathers in Bangladesh. If so, why is the Prime Minister being welcomed so open-heartedly today in Dhaka? And why is he going to be traveling across the country tomorrow? It's unprecedented. He's going to go to lesser-known places. The Bangladeshi tourism minister was heard saying that we want Narendra Modi to come because that way more Indian tourists will come and it will benefit our economy. So they're very pragmatic, non-ideological, pragmatic, and they are looking for win-win solutions. And that is where India has really clasped the hand.
Dr. Chaulia, let me bring in you here. Since we're talking about taking the relationship to a new level, in areas of connectivity, people-to-people connect, we have seen a lot of initiatives have been undertaken, particularly in the last few years. But as the ambassador was pointing out, which are the new areas that now offer a lot of opportunity for both countries to further expand this connect?
Well, Tina, one is the regional integration initiatives that we have launched and we have strengthened in recent years. One is the BBIN, the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal corridor. The other is the larger grouping of BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal initiative. Now, Bangladesh is at the heart of both the BBIN and the BIMSTEC. And like Ambassador was mentioning, it can be a transit because of geography, both through inland waterways and directly through the roadway and railways between India's mainland and the Northeast, but also with Southeast Asia. And that's where, so Bangladesh is not only central to the SAARC and to South Asia's integration, but also to our Act East policy, where we want to reach out to Myanmar and beyond. So I think Bangladesh's location matters, the geolocation, the geographical location, and we will want to leverage that much more. There is the Teesta water record that has not yet been resolved, and from time to time there are objections from Indian side in West Bengal due to political reasons. So those are, I think, some of the outstanding issues which they would like us to resolve. But already, they're not complaining. Frankly, they've already got plenty and Bangladesh garments, Bangladesh electronics, all these are super hits in the world. They are exporting. They have managed to maintain very high growth rate due to these exports, even despite the pandemic. In fact, they have even better growth rate than India in the last few years. So that is something where they may want more access to the Indian market, and we can be generous. We can consider sector-wise. Even the Bangladeshi remittances from abroad have been pouring in a big way in the last couple of years, and are helping shore up their economy. One area which we can do, apart from BIMSTEC and BBIN, for economic collaboration is bring in Japan and do trilateral projects. Because Japan is a big player in the region, both in Myanmar and they want to be involved in India's northeast and connecting to Bangladesh. So Japanese infrastructure projects are much welcomed in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh needs Japan to counterbalance China. So otherwise, the Chinese are coming in with bags of money and saying, we will build this port, we will build this, a bridge and railway and reconstruct your highways and all those things. But Sheikh Hasina, great lady, she's always maintained a balance and made sure that it doesn't become a kind of a Chinese playground. So that is one of the reasons, that understanding with India, we are very clear that we will do everything for them, for their security, for their economy, and for the integration to the region. And in return, they do not, cross the red lines, which might cause alarm bells ringing in Delhi. So I think on that count, Japan is going to be a very valuable partner, and they want to be involved. So we should be thinking innovatively in terms of third and fourth and fifth countries and how we can come together and place Bangladesh in the middle. Huge market, 170 million people, rising middle class, middle income country. It can also consume a lot of products that we continue to export to them, and we can buy more from them. Those are the kind of ideas. In fact, Dr. Jaishankar was saying that the geo-economics of the Bay of Bengal depends on Bangladesh. So that entire region, the eastern flank of India, we can energize economically all the way up to the ASEAN countries via Bangladesh. So that should be, I think, the way forward, yes, so that they get that sense of importance and value.
Dr. Chaulia, one closing comment from you, because India and Bangladesh share a relationship that is based on mutual trust. In the wake of a new emerging world order in the post-COVID world, how can these two countries collaborate for their own interest and also for the larger benefit of the region?
I think the security aspect also needs to be looked into. Today, PM was talking about the fact that the terrorist threat is still active in the region, and we should be watchful, vigilant. There should be more intelligence cooperation between Bangladesh and India to make sure none of the jihadist elements which are in touch with the ISI on the other side, on the Pakistani side, and which could be used to carry out nefarious activities in India. I think, and within Bangladesh too, there has been a so-called ISIS resurgence in the last few years. Sheikh Hasina has been trying to control these with a firm hand, but you cannot always do this on your own. So I think she always looks up to India and to Prime Minister Modi for cooperation on that. So security cooperation we have to also enhance and stamp out the menace of radical Islamist insurgents and terrorists. The other thing I would say, the China factor also, PM mentioned that there is no diplomacy which could make India-Bangladesh relationship a victim. He said, "Koi कूटनीति नहीं है जो हमें शिकार बना सकते हैं." What he was talking about is the Chinese, efforts to wean away many of these countries from India's orbit and to try to make them part of the Sino-centric order in Asia. So I think we have to work continuously with Bangladesh. We have to be generous to them, continue to be generous to them. We have to keep winning their hearts and minds much more. And I think going forward, as Ambassador was saying, we have to tap into younger generation. That's why PM is talking about bringing more Bangladeshi students and engaging the youth much more. Because ultimately, the memories of 1971 will fade away. For a next generation, they are saying, what is it that India will give me which China is not already giving? So that's where we have to compete hard, and we have to be absolutely clear that history is great and that's the basis of this relationship. But at the same time, India brings additional value and utility to the people of Bangladesh. And the more developmental partnerships we do with them, the better off we will be.
Absolutely. And since the 21st century is being touted as the Asian century, it is important for both India and Bangladesh to collaborate in areas to the best of their interest, tap their potential, and truly make it their century. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on the program and sharing your thoughts with us on the India-Bangladesh relationship.